he gets $1,000 a cord. Means he's getting over $1,600 for a full cord. Today I'm in the wood yard. It's a fireside chat. Here we go. So I've got my favorite snack. I got some Doritos and some cheese. I got a fire going. It's in the evening here. I'm sitting outside. It's about 50 degrees right now, so it's a beautiful night to sit outside in the springtime. There's no bugs this time of year. My favorite time to sit outside and relax is in the spring. Because in the fall, I got stuff to do. I got places to go. I got trees to sit in. But today we're going to talk about all the things that come up on the channel that are kind of unanswered. Things that aren't really big enough to do like a video of, but they're questions that come up and comments people make that I thought I could address. I've done this in the past, and a lot of people like this, so I thought it'd be something good to talk about today. So got the fire going in the warm bond smokeless stove. Feels fantastic. Hopefully you guys can see me because the smoke's kind of going right towards the camera, which is better than in my face. So we got questions. I got my laptop here and we're going to talk about them. Just a little adult lemonade. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so these are comments that you guys make to me on the channel. What I do is if I see something that's interesting or it's worthy of talking about, I do a screenshot of it with your question or comment and then my answer. I'm going to go over these. And again, a lot of these are interesting things and I think it'll be beneficial for a lot of you to hear, whether it's about firewood or the business part of the firewood or just comments in general that are kind of interesting. So the first one we've got here, I'm not going to name names here because some people might feel bad about it. So the first one says, I've been selling firewood for 5 years now and I find the service end is more profitable than anything. Yes, I agree. This was my comment back. I said, yup, any caveman like me can cut and split wood. The customer service and customer relationship is where the gold is, which means, yeah, you can go into the woods and cut wood and have it for sale, but what you want to do is run it like an actual business, which means you're going to market to people, you're going to help people, you're going to ask people questions, you're going to help get them what they want and what they need. And that involves, number one, a lot of psychology. Number two, finding out more about the customer than about you, because most people I find that cut wood cut it for themselves for the most part. But if you're selling it, you kind of got to find out what the people are doing with it. So when someone calls me, they'll a lot of times ask, I see you sell wood, I need some. And they really don't know what to ask, a lot of the people. So my shtick that I use all the time is like, okay, sounds great. I'd love to deliver you some. First of all, what kind of wood do you usually get? How much do you usually get? How much do you burn in a year? Where are you going to be burning it? Is it for a fire pit? Is it for a fireplace? Is it for a wood boiler? Find out what kind of wood they're looking for. Are you smoking meat with it? If so, do you want a certain flavor that you're looking for? Are you looking for hickory? Are you looking for cherry? Are you looking for white oak? Ask a lot of questions. And the best way to do it is to start out saying, oh, that sounds great. So that I can get you the right kind of wood, I've got a few questions that I'd like to ask. Is that all right? Of course. People want to be helped. The number one thing you can do is not cutting the wood. The number one thing is not just delivering the wood or having pretty looking wood. It's helping the people. Number one, customer service. So find out what they want, help them get it. Make recommendations. And if someone says, yeah, we have a fire pit and we buy bundles occasionally from the gas station, but the wood doesn't burn really good. Right there's an opening. Say, yes, I understand. A lot of the wood that you buy at gas stations is not going to be wood that is going to be fully seasoned, dry, and ready to burn. Matter of fact, it's probably going to be hard to get it to burn. You're probably going to want wood that is fully dried so that it burns tonight, not in 6 months. And I find that I have that question come up a lot, that people will say, I want wood that's ready to burn now, not something that's going to sit there and smolder. So people want wood that's going to burn. So then I ask them, is it a fire pit? Do you have a solo stove, a smokeless stove? Do you have a fire pit? Do you have more of an open, big bonfire type thing that you just pile wood into? Because I've seen everything. Find out what they want, help them get it. And if they're just a beginner to this and they don't burn a lot of wood, say what most people do is they buy wood by the face cord or third of a cord, which means it's going to be something that will fill a rack that is going to be 8 feet wide, 4 feet high, like a sheet of plywood laid on its side. A lot of people can relate to that. And I tell them basically it's enough wood for most people for the summer for burning, unless you have a lot of fires. A lot of my customers will buy 2 or 3 times a year because they buy one of those racks that is 8 feet wide, 4 feet high, and then they get wood about every 3 or 4 months. Very common. And it is, that's a very common amount. And I tell them, I said, I've got lots of kinds of wood. I go through the list. I go through, you know, I've got softwoods like pine, which is great for campfire wood. It snap, crackles, and pops. It does burn a little faster, but has a nice flame to it. I have woods that are kind of woods that are really good for smoking meat, if that's what you're looking for. I have cherry, I have ash, I have white oak, which are the common ones. Beech also is another one. Or I just have mixed hardwood, which works really good for campfire wood. It's a little bit of everything. There might be elm in there, ash, maple, there could be cherry, there could be oak, there could be locust, and it's just a mix of stuff that burns really good. Generally, if people want pine, it's because they want a lot of flame and they want it to burn fast and they like pine. A lot of people, though, however, don't like pine because it has that snap, crackle, and pop. You get embers flying out. You get the hot embers will fly out and land on people, which makes it exciting. I happen to like pine. There's a piece in there right now. You can hear it snapping once in a while. So I kind of try to help people as much as possible. That's your biggest thing you can do. And then following up, when would you like to deliver it? Does tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock work? What's your time frame you're looking at? When do you need it by? There's a ton of questions you can ask. I also ask, how did you hear about me? Was it a neighbor? Was it a friend? Was it a relative? Have we delivered to you in the past? Ask a lot of questions. The more questions you ask them, the happier they're going to be, because they want to be helped. And the best way to help them is to find out what they want. And a lot of people just, you know, I've got wood for sale. Ugh, fire good. That's not really helping people a whole lot. You really want to be service oriented. That's where the gold is. That's where the money is. That's where you're going to build up your clients, that customers, we call them clients in my other business, your customers that will buy from you over and over and over, and they'll refer you to other people. And then be on time when you deliver. Ask them questions. Talk to them like a person that you're meeting for the first time. You know, what do you do for a living? How many kids do you have? I see you got a bunch of kids' toys here. Are the kids going to help you stack the wood? I talk about my kids. You know, my kids used to burn fires all the time in the backyard because we had the yard everybody was invited to all the time when my kids were here. It's a great thing to have to sit around the fire. It's caveman TV, it really is. And a lot of people buy wood to do this. I call it drinking wood. Very popular. So ask a lot of questions. Find out what they do for a living, their kids' names, their dogs' names, how old their dog is. Ask them a lot of questions. People want to talk about their stuff. If they got a new truck, ask them about their truck. If they got a new car, ask them about their car. If they got an old car, say, wow, this is in really good shape for the year that it must be. Have you had it a long time? I had one of these before. My friend's got one of these. Ask about their stuff. Ask them questions. Compliment them on things. That's how you build customers. That's how you build relationships. Get them to talk more than you doing the talking. Huge, huge, huge. This guy says, it's a great video, because I must have made a comment that I had poplar or aspen in the pile, and I said it was too much. I had to mix in some other stuff because it was mixed hardwood. And I said, I think there's nothing wrong at all with aspen or poplar. It is a great burning wood for in the fire pit or a fireplace. It has great flames. Yes, it burns fast, but if you're heating with wood, it burns too fast. It doesn't put out a lot of heat. So it depends what you're doing with it. If you are just enjoying a fire, there's nothing wrong with at all with the lower grade hardwoods like poplar or aspen. And it is a hardwood, not a softwood. The difference between a hardwood and softwood is trees that have leaves and shed them every year, deciduous trees, hardwood. Trees that are green or have needles that stay green every year, all year long, evergreen, spruces, balsams, cedars, softwood. There's your lesson for the day on the trees. Next question. I get this one a lot. When I get a log load delivered, people ask me, like, how many cords do you get in a semi-load? Well, first of all, we don't have triaxle trucks like a lot of people talk about on on the East Coast. I hear that a lot. Oh, I'm getting a triax load. We have truckers that have the triax load, and then they have a pup in the back that has another trailer on it. So I generally will get 12, 14, as many as 16 cords of wood in one load. And people want to know, how much does it cost? I pay anywhere from $100 to $120 depending on the kind of wood. If it's a soft wood, you're going to pay less. If it's a lower grade wood, ash they can't get rid of, so the price on ash right now is really cheap. I can get ash now for $75 a cord because everybody's got it and the loggers are just trying to get rid of it. But the specific question is how many cords do I get out of a semi truckload? And what that means is, say I get a truckload that has 12 cords on it, log cords. When you cut that up into your 16-inch rounds, you've got the kerf you're losing. When you split it, you're going to have some trash. You're going to have bark falling off. You're going to have splinters. You're going to have debris. So you're going to have a lot of chaff, so to speak. And then when you go to stack it, you're going to stack it tighter than a log would be because logs are round, so you've got all those spaces in between the logs. So you're going to get less. The rule of thumb is 5/6, which means if you've got a 12-cord load of wood, you're going to get 10 full cords of firewood. That's 5/6. So for every 6 cords of logs, you're going to get 5 cords of firewood. Does that make sense? I hope so. Next question. It's time for some cheese and a little lemonade, the adult kind. Oh, that's good. Okay, next question. It takes a lot of expensive equipment to run a business like that. Do you sell or give away the sawdust for bedding? I'd use it to feed my wood stove, but it has short burn times and doesn't burn really good. I'm sure someone could use it to heat their place if they're poor. And he says this place that he goes past all the time has a tumbler, and you have lots of debris because you'll see it built up. We don't save it. We spread most of the wood chips, the burnt chips, or the sawdust out into the farm field. I'm going to be taking 2 loads, well, two totes full, bladders full of sawdust to my brother, and he's going to mix it into his garden. And then we're going to be taking my dump trailer to where he can get free black dirt. It's actually decomposed grass and leaves and dirt all mixed together, and that actually is really good fertilizer for a garden. And he's kind of in a sandy area, so we're going to spread sawdust so that he can till that in and put sawdust around his plants. And then we're going to go take my trailer and we're going to load up a bunch of black dirt. We have to shovel it in, so it'll be work. But no, the rest of the stuff, the chaff, the debris, the branches, the bark, chips, all that stuff, we just take it into the farm. There's a low area way in the back it's like 300 acres the farm is on, this particular farm. They have more acres, but this particular one has a spot that slopes way down into the woods, and it's an area that's wet and can't be tilled. We actually got stuck out there not long ago, so it's an area that we're just dumping all the debris in there and spreading it out and kind of using it as fill. I've talked to people that produce thousands of cords of wood, and they do the same thing. They just want the chaff gone. They want the debris gone. Unless you're running a big operation like Jason, Logger Jason, where you can actually grind all that stuff up and mix it into chips to be used for biomass, and then you can sell it by the semi-load like he does, that's a totally different thing. I don't have the volume or the time to mess with it, so there you go. Okay, so this past winter I did a video with Logger Mac up in the UP, which is the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He's a Youper. We were talking about how dangerous logging is because it is a very dangerous profession to have. And because you're dealing with nature and you're dealing with gravity and big trees that can do weird things. So it's a very dangerous job. Actually, it's number 1 most dangerous job there is. So I looked it up. And here are the top most dangerous jobs out there. Logging is number 1. Commercial fishing is number 2. Flight engineers, test pilots, number 3. Roofers, number 4. 5. Structural steel workers. 6. Garbage collection. 7 delivery drivers, 8 agriculture, 9 other construction, 10 landscaping. And his question was, I'm sure it's dangerous, but how does it rate compared to, drivers and miners and farmers, people that work with heavy machinery? It's the most dangerous. Logging is. When you go for life insurance, they'll ask you, do you work in the logging industry, fishing industry, or steel structures? Because they're the 3 most dangerous, and they want to know if you do that or not. And, there's lots of people that risk their lives every day to go to work to earn money. But yet, the people that you hear about all the time, it's the firemen and the policemen, because they're risking their lives. It's actually way down on the list because they have vests on, they have authority, they have guns. So it's less dangerous by far than logging, less dangerous by far than steel construction, commercial fishing. Just saying, don't want to get in a big argument and have people get their feathers ruffled, but it's dangerous. Logging's very dangerous. So here's a question. I talked about firewood business and how to run it efficiently and actually make money, and it was one of the videos I did a while ago. And so the question was, so what do you do when the competition springs up and starts undercutting you pretty bad? And when it's hard to compete and you feel like you're giving your wood away, which is was happening in his area. He said people are undercutting him by half of what he is charging. He says, how do you even make money? And then someone else made a comment that that is in an area close by here. He says, I'm in the same area as Chris. And he says, I just keep on going. And he says, people do sell wood for half the prices I sell for, but I sell everything I have every year because I deliver wood, I have good service, and I have wood in quantities people want and the kinds of wood they want. And he said, I don't worry about people undercutting because he said, those people don't last long. If you're working, breaking even, or losing money, which is what a lot of people do when they start selling firewood, they don't realize you've got to actually make money to pay for your stuff. You got to pay for chainsaws. You got to pay for chaps. You got to pay for your fuel. You got to pay for a splitter. You got to pay for your truck. You got to pay for your dump trailer. You got to pay for a splitter. You got to pay for a log processor. You got to pay for the logs. You got to actually make money above the cost of what you think you do to make enough money to buy stuff in the future. And so many people give wood away and they don't last long. They just don't. Don't worry about that, because the number one golden thing that you can do if you're selling wood, service. Help the people more, do more, offer a better product, help them get what they want, make it easy for them. Service is everything, everything. For instance, there is a price market for everything. The thing I bring up all the time is food. You can go to McDonald's and you can get a meal for what, $10 now? It used to be $5, but it's like 10 or 12 now. Or you can get a meal that will fill you up just as much. If you go to like a Four Seasons or a 4-star restaurant where it might cost you $100. But there's people for both of those markets. The lower cost, there's more people that are out there looking for it. The upper cost, there are people that will pay. There are people that will pay. Every price point has a market. So with that, I said, what you want to do is offer free delivery, offer stacking, offer kindling, make sure they are getting the wood they want by helping them get what they want. Offer kinds of wood that nobody else has. Be a better business person. Be a better service industry type person. Be better. Do more. Don't just fly in there with your wood when you feel like it, when it's convenient for you to deliver it. Make it convenient for them. And when you deliver it, find out what's going to be best for them. Do they want it put in the driveway? Do they want you to back into their garage, put it right in the rack? Do they want it wheeled around back? And they will pay for you to stack it. Don't be afraid to do more. This was something that came up. I did a video on axes a while ago, talking about different axes. And I talked about how when you cut wood and you're going to cut it or split it with an axe or a maul, you want to always split the fresh cut. Because if you try to split it from the end that's dry, that's weathered, seasoned, cracking, that wood will shrink down and tighten up. There's less moisture in it. So you want to always flip it over, if you're going to split with an axe or a maul, to the fresh cut. The fresh cut will split much easier. Same thing with a splitter or a processor. When you drop that wood into the splitting chamber, if you have the fresh cut to the wedge side. So when the wedge hits it, it's in that moisture, it's in that fresh cut where it's enlarged more, versus going to the other side where it's dry, where it's shrunken down, it's tightened up. It's gonna be much harder to split. Split the fresh cut. So I talked about on one video about different kinds of wood you should not burn, and one of them was pallets. You shouldn't burn pallets. I know people do, but some pallets, quite a few of them, are green treated. They're treated with some type of a chemical to make them last longer, so you don't, or painted sometimes. Sometimes chemicals can spill onto the wood. You know, if it's stuff stored in barrels and you have chemicals that are bad, and you're going to be burning that and breathing the wood, you really don't want to burn pallets. I mean, you can, but you probably shouldn't. So this guy said, what about heat-treated pallets, or pallets that are dried, or pallets that are made out of oak that have not had any chemicals on? He said, all you need is a magnet and you can suck up the nails out of it. I said, yeah, pallets are, I said, yeah, you could do that. But pallets are a very inefficient way to burn firewood. They're thin. They're not usually quality wood. Some are oak, but most aren't. There's a lot of them that are made out of poplar or cottonwood or low-grade lumber. So this reminds me of something my good friend Zig used to say. You can find a biscuit in a dumpster out behind a restaurant, but that really is probably not the place you should look. Burn the good stuff. You can eat out of a dumpster, probably not the place you should eat. So don't use garbage. Use the good stuff. Use good wood that was intended to burn in a fireplace. Because I talked about different kinds of wood not to burn. Pallets was one of them. And there's lots of different kinds of wood you shouldn't burn. Obviously green wood, stuff that's just going to smolder. You don't want to burn that. Talked about lots of different kinds. It's a video you can go back and look. But pallets is not a good way or efficient way to burn wood, especially if you're heating. You know, you'd have to have a crap ton of pallets to heat your house. And then you got all the nails to deal with. It's just, like I said, don't look for a biscuit to eat at a dumpster. The next one's a good one. We're talking about making money with firewood and what you need. And I had talked about different things that are required to run a good firewood business. And this particular person said the number one most important should be a ton of land. If you live in suburbia or in a city, you shouldn't apply to selling firewood. I couldn't disagree more. You don't need land to sell firewood. My response was no, actually. If I had to start all over and I was going to make a living at it and I wanted to be a big time firewood producer, I'd want to be in a big city where there's more people and less trees. Prime example is if you live in the middle of nowhere, northern Wisconsin for instance, and you live in a town of 100 people, and there's a lot of them like that, and your next closest town is 20 miles away and that's got 1,000 people, how many customers are you going to have? A few. I want to be selling to the masses. I want as many customers as possible. I can buy wood from the sticks or from a forest or from a logger, have them brought to the city or suburbs, cut it up and have it for selling firewood. But if you lived out in the sticks, can you truck in your customers? No. Customers. Customers we want. So here's what I said. No, actually, if I had to start all over, I'd want to be in a big city or suburb. It would be way better than living out in the sticks, so to speak. You need customers more than a lot of trees. You can buy logs, but not a customer base. You can truck logs in, but not customers. Here's another one. This is about chainsaws in your chain. Does frozen wood dull chainsaw chains? Everything dulls chainsaw chains. When you start cutting, it's going to get duller. The only way to keep your chain sharp all the time is to never use it. Everything you cut will dull a chain. But my number one thing would be to cut, if I'm cutting wood, is clean wood. No dirt, no sand, no mud, no logs that have been rolled into the mud or dragged through the mud. You want clean wood. Frozen, I guess, yeah, to a point. Probably makes a little bit of difference. It might cut a little harder, especially if you're cutting wood with a high moisture content like oak or, say, locust, or if you're cutting cottonwood that's frozen, or if you're cutting hard maple. Hard maple is like cutting cement. If it's frozen, it's very hard. If you're cutting softwood, if you're cutting pines, if you're cutting cedar, if you're cutting balsam, fir trees. It's like cutting butter. So nothing will dull your saw faster than hitting a rock, hitting a fence, a nail, a bolt, hitting the ground when it's frozen, hitting cement or hitting, brick, stuff like that. That's what's going to dull your saw the fastest. But in general, your saw always will dull as you cut. I usually get every tank I will sharpen. Minimum every 2 tanks that I run, I will sharpen the saws. So as soon as you make your first couple cuts, it's getting dull. And you don't notice it because it's so gradual that it gets duller as you cut. But as you cut, it will get duller no matter what you're cutting. Because in the trees, in the bark, in the actual fibers of the wood, especially if you're in a sandy country area, like say middle of where I live in this area, and you go to the west and to the south, there's a lot of sandy soil. So when you're cutting, you're getting little tiny bits of sand in the actual wood, in the tree that you're cutting through. Because I've cut in the evening quite a few times what I thought was clean wood, and I see sparks. The only reason you're seeing sparks is that your chain is hitting rocks or little bits of sand. And if it's getting towards dark where you shouldn't be cutting, you're going to see some sparks. Here's a good question. It says, what's going to happen to all the firewood sellers when all the ash trees are gone? I think they'll be better off, because right now everybody has dead ash trees. I have a lot of customers that I've sold to wood in the past, and I see they've got wood stacked out along their garages, and it's in rounds because they either cut a tree down or their neighbor did, and they got free wood. There's free wood everywhere right now. When the ash trees are dead and gone, I think the firewood business will be better. And a lot of the fly-by-night people that have 2 trees they cut down in the yard and they sell a face cord or 2 or a full cord, or they give it away, you're going to have a lot more customers that are going to have to buy wood because the free stuff will be gone. And a lot of the fly-by-night people that start firewood businesses won't have access to free wood anymore. They're going to have to buy it or try to find it somewhere. It's not going to be just on every street corner like it literally is right now. So when the ash trees are dead, gone, and it's over, I think the firewood industry will actually be better. Here's a question about delivery and charging. He says, if you don't charge for the delivery and there's no discount for ordering larger amounts, wouldn't customers keep ordering small amounts since there's no incentive to order more? Yes and no. Most of my customers don't have a large storage space. They live in a suburb like I do, where they literally have a rack in their garage, or a rack that's a 8 foot long or 4 foot long by 4 feet high rack. And when it's full, they think they've got a lot of wood. And when it's empty, they need to order more. People do not stock up on firewood if you're burning like this for fun, for enjoyment, for relaxation. If you're burning for heating, totally different customer. Those people will stock up at least 1 year, if not 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years in advance, so that they always have wood available to burn. That's good dry wood. But people that burn for fun, they don't have the specific need. I compare it to ice cream. Do you have a freezer full of ice cream in your house? Probably not. I mean, you might, but most people, they have a quart or a pint or a gallon, maybe 2 gallons. Maybe they have vanilla and they have chocolate in a gallon, but one of each probably at the most. And when they run out, they go to the grocery store and get more. They don't stock up on it because it's not something that they live on. It's not something that they're doing every day. I mean, I could eat ice cream every day, especially chocolate, but most people are burning firewood occasionally, and their lives don't depend on firewood for heat. They're burning it for fun for the most part. Yes, there are people that do need it. If you live in the northern climate of whatever country you're in or state, and you have winter, a real winter where it's 20 below and you're heating your house, yeah, you're going to need wood if you're heating a house with wood. Most people have backup situations where they have gas or they have LP or they have oil, whatever. They've got different heating sources. But if you're heating solely with wood, yeah, you're gonna be ready. You're gonna have 2-3 years in advance. That's a totally different situation. So this is someone that I don't know where they're from. Obviously somewhere in Europe, because they sell everything or buy everything by the cubic meter, which is common pretty much everywhere else in the world except for in the United States and Canada. United States and Canada goes by full cords, third of a cord, half a cord, face cord, rick, rank, row, whatever you want to call it, truckload. Every different area of the United States have different names for wood, and your area is going to be different than other people. In Canada, they go by bush cords, which is a totally different name than anybody else uses. In Wisconsin here where I live, it's face cords. And we don't use face cords primarily. We just say a cord of wood, which doesn't mean a full cord. It means a face cord or a third of a cord. 4 feet high, 8 feet long, 16-inch pieces. Let's call it a cord. That's what everybody calls it. And I know a lot of people on the East Coast get their underwear in a knot because that's not a cord. It's only a third of a cord. Yeah, out there. But here, it's a face cord. Or we just call it a cord. That's why I always ask my customers, do you want a third of a cord, which is also a face cord, or do you want a full cord, which is 3 of those? A full cord is 4 feet wide, 4 feet high, 8 feet long, stacked. So it's 128 cubic feet. Is that what you're looking for? So I have to ask those questions. Everybody does it differently. There's different countries that have different rates. For instance, a cubic, I should say, start this over. 1 full cord stacked is 128 cubic feet, no matter how you pile it or stack it. It's 128 cubic feet. And the equal amount in cubic meters is 3.7 cubic meters. 3.7 cubic meters is a full cord. So there's that. Next question is does white oak burn hotter than red oak? About that much. Very little difference. One has 23 million BTUs, one is 24. And it depends on, probably there's different kinds of white oak, there's different kinds of red oak. It depends on also if it's a tree that was in the open and it has very fast growth with wide growth rings, or if it's a tree that's in the middle of the forest with very tight growth rings, very narrow, hard to count lines on their growth rings. The slower it grows, the more BTUs you're going to get out of it. If it grows fast, wide growth rings, less fiber in the wood, it's not going to have as many BTUs. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is that all wood burns. Oak is a good wood. It's not the best wood, it's just good wood. There's wood that has way more BTUs than oak. There's locust, there's hickory, there's Osage orange, ironwood, eucalyptus, almond wood. Down south there's live oak. All have way more heat in it than oak. Oak is a good wood. And then there's wood that has less heat than oak. You've got ash, you've got cherry, you've got soft maple. Hard maple actually has just as much, if not more, heat than oak. So there's that. Look up the charts in your area. Look up in your area where you live, your state. What kinds of wood are there? What's the best wood for heat? As far as BTUs, look it up. There's a thing on the computer. You can type it out and it'll tell you. Might want to try that. So this was a guy that made a comment and he said, one of the other firewood sellers has some of the same beliefs I have about firewood, that small quantities do make more money, which is true. Anything you do in smaller quantities, you can charge more for. Because it's when you buy in bulk, generally there's discounts, and you're buying a larger amount, you can actually get stuff cheaper. So this guy said that he feels that firewood is a novelty item for city people, so they'll pay more for the novelty. Maybe. I don't feel that it's a novelty. I think it's more of a specialty item, not a novelty. A specialty item means that it means a big deal to them, and they use it often enough that they want to make sure they get the good stuff. So it's special. Novelty is like they have a fire once a year, maybe. Special means like they're going to smoke meat, they want cherry, they want hickory, and they want a certain amount because they know how much they're going to need. So it's more of a specialty item. So my customers, the people that I sell wood to, are buying from me not because they're trying to save money. They're buying from me because they want to have a fire anytime they want and know that the wood they have is going to burn. So the customers I sell to buy because they don't have the skill to cut wood. They don't have access to it. They don't have the tools. They don't have a truck. They don't have a splitter. They don't have the chainsaw. They physically can't do it. They don't have the knowledge of how to do it. They're paying for service. Kind of like I went and had a crown put on my teeth not too long ago. One of my molars in back broke off. I did not get a drill out and drill out my tooth when it broke off, and I did not put the new tooth on, or the crown that I had. I hired a guy because he knows what he's doing. That's what people are doing with firewood. They're hiring a guy. It's always good to know a guy. It's kind of like a lot of the other things that modern men pay for that they used to do themselves. It's because they specialize in what they do. They might be a mechanic. They might be an accountant. They might be a lawyer or a doctor. They might work on an assembly line somewhere. They might be a skilled laborer of some sort that they put 40, 50, 60 hours a week into their job. And when they come home, they don't want to work more. They want to sit and relax. So they buy a product from someone like me or you so that they can enjoy it without having to spend time, effort, and money to go buy the tools necessary to do it. Kind of like I say to people all the time, I am not a mechanic. I can fix little things, I can see what's wrong, but when it's a major thing, I hire a guy because I don't want to spend my time, my effort, my frustrations on trying to fix something, or have to go get the tools to do it and then learn how to do it. I'll just hire a guy. I do what I do best. I gotta get a drink, I'm getting parched. Next question. If one of your customers offered to buy all your wood, would you agree? Or would you need to save some for your regular customers? That is a good question. I would sell all of it instantly. They'd be gone. Because I could take that money, turn it right around into producing more wood very fast, and I could dry wood pretty fast. Worst case scenario, I would buy from another supplier that has dry wood. Because I know several that I could buy seasoned wood from by the semi-load right now. I could have it here probably in 3-4 days. So I would sell everything I have. So if you're interested, I got a couple hundred cords for sale, lots of different kinds. I would sell it all because I can replace it pretty fast. I have enough contacts in the industry now that I could easily get fully seasoned wood as fast as I want. Matter of fact, I have bought quite a bit of wood from other people over the years because they have some and I'm getting low. So I'll go buy wood from them and then flip it. Usually I can get it for about half price because I'm buying it from an area where there's a lot of trees and very few people. And they sell their wood cheap, so I can drive there, get a load of wood, bring it back and sell it. I can buy 5 face cords or 1 full cord and 2/3, and I can pay $50 a face cord, so that 5 that I would buy would be $250. And I can bring it back here and I can sell that same 5 face cords for $600. So I can more than double my money. But I got to handle it, I got to go get it, I got to haul it, I got to stack it, I got to move it. So I can get wood to replace it. And I would have all that money in my pocket where it belongs instead of someone else's. If I sold 200 full cords of wood at $360 a cord, let's see what that would be. I'll get the calculator out here. For instance, just want you guys to know, I am for sale and I have wood. That'd be $72,000 in my pocket right now. Yes, that's what I have available. $72,000 worth of wood right now. Like I said, I could replace that fast. And I would basically be filling orders, and then during that whole time I'd be producing as fast as I could, because it could happen again. Because as I've told many of you many times, more is the right amount of wood to have. It's cooling off, the sun is going down. I gotta throw some more wood in. So here we've got ash and soft maple, and more soft maple, and more ash, and here's a piece of pine. That's a light one. And then another chunk of ash. Here we go. I'm gonna have to go get more wood. I keep my wood right alongside of the garage. Over on the other side behind the camera over there. So I just grab a couple armfuls and bring it out here when I'm having a fire, because that way I don't have to wood sitting out here. Next question. Not related to wood, but related to fires in the house. Because I had done 2 different videos about customers that had problems with venting. They had trying to start a fire and they had downdraft and they couldn't keep a fire going, and they couldn't figure out why. Because they were running an indoor grill doing steaks and having a bathroom fan on, or one of the other ones was running a dryer. And their house was so airtight, they were actually sucking air down the chimney. They couldn't get a fire to go. It just kept smoking the room up, and they blamed it on me, thinking that they had wet wood, and they had draft issues. So this guy said here he had the same problem because he found that he was running a dryer and a hot water heater, and it was bringing air down, and they couldn't get a fire going. And I had another one here that made a comment very similar. He says he talked to his person that installed his fireplace and his furnace in his house about the draft and the positive, negative pressure in the house and all that. And the guy told me, he says, yeah, a lot of times homes are so tight and so efficient as far as not letting any drafts in that they don't breathe. And the guy told me, so a lot of times when people put a high efficiency fireplace insert into their existing fireplace, they're so efficient that they actually need to bring in outside air so that you can actually keep it breathing. Because 3 things are needed for fire. You need a fuel, which is the wood. You need an ignition source, and fire needs to breathe. It needs oxygen. Those are the only 3 things you need. So if it's not getting oxygen, if your house has been sucked dry of all the oxygen, there's no airflow, fire won't burn. Outside it burns great, but inside is a different thing. And when you burn fire in your house, it's a serious thing. You want it to be done right. Okay, here's a good one. This guy says here he cuts, splits, hauls, stacks all of his own wood. And he said he wishes closer to me because for the amount of work he puts into it, he feels that he'd be better off buying wood from me. And I said, well, that would be nice. I said, I do deliver. But he said, yeah, he said he doesn't enjoy cutting wood, but he does it because he enjoys the heat. And he said he would buy it. And he said, the nice thing about cutting wood on his own property is that it's free. I said, oh, but maybe it isn't so free. Number one, you're spending your time on it. So there's that, your effort on it. You've got to buy the saw, you got to buy the splitter, you got to buy the truck, you got to haul it. But the one thing that he totally thought about was the land that he paid for, so it wasn't free. And he lives in an area where there are a lot of people. He pays a tremendous amount in taxes. So he's paying dearly for that wood. So taxes are one of those things that people don't ever account for, even in property. I said to the comment to him, I've run my own business. I've been self-employed for 36 years now. Yeah, 36 years. So I have my main business and then my firewood business and then YouTube. So I have been paying taxes for a long time. I had a guy ask me the other day about my photography business that I have because I'm trying to retire and downsize, and eventually we're going to sell the building. And one of the nicest things about selling the building, obviously, is because I've got a tremendous amount of equity built up in it. So because when we built it, we paid a certain amount, and it's probably worth more than twice that now because it was over 20 years ago. So I've gained a little there. But the thing that hurts the most, my taxes on my building are $12,000 to $13,000 a year, somewhere right in that range. That's the taxes. So in 20 some years, I've paid over $250,000 in taxes. Let that sink in. $250,000. Not for my house. That's for my business building. And people are like, oh, but you'll make money. Yeah, that comes right out of the profit, comes right out of my pocket. So there's that. This comes up all the time here because I have a video that did really well talking about not stacking wood. And this guy says, I completely understand what you're saying is because if you've cut, split, and stacked hundreds in his case, thousands in my case, face cords, thirds of a cord, full cords, I know how much a cord is, and then I took that amount, put it into my truck and trailer, I know exactly, loose, how much it needs to be. He says, why can't people figure that out? He says, when he goes to the deli, he tells the person, I want a pound of sliced ham. And he said, it's amazing. When they start slicing, they know they got a certain amount, and they put it on the scale, and it's always within like less than a tenth of an ounce off. Instead of being 1 pound, it's 15.9 ounces, or it's 16.1 ounces, and they just take a piece. They know how much they have because they do it all the time. No different than me. I can look at a pile of loose wood and I can guess pretty dang close how much is in that pile. And there is a way to figure it out. You can actually measure it and figure it out. Loose wood versus stacked wood. So there you go. This is an interesting one. I had 2 people that contacted me when I talked about people charging too much for their wood, because I hear that, oh, you charge too much for your wood. I get guys that cut their own wood and they live out in the country where wood is free, basically, or they grew up on a property that was hundreds of acres of trees, and they cut it all and they think it should always be free, but they don't realize they're paying taxes on that free wood. And somebody paid for that land at one time, and you still got to go through the effort to get it. I said something about charging for wood, and you got to charge what your area will bear, or what your services, or what you need to be paid to cover your services. And he said he's got a friend of his that lives in New York City, and occasionally he will haul a full cord of wood to the city, and then he delivers it to apartments, 20 and 30 story buildings, and he uses a shopping cart. He sells it by the shopping cart to people that have fireplaces, or they have one of these on their deck in their apartment or in their condo, whatever they have. And he said when he figured it out, he gets $1,000 a cord. $1,000 a cord, because he's selling where the people are, where they don't have trees, and where they will pay to be able to sit and drink and watch the fire. Because to them it's entertainment. And everything is expensive to them, so they think nothing of it. So that's where you got to get your mindset different, depending on where you are, that just because you live in an area where there's lots of trees, no people, and trees are free and you can get all you want, that's not the case for everybody else. There are people that live in cities where there's no trees and millions of people, and they will pay more. Here's another, for instance. This is another person that sent me a email, and they're talking about the price of wood, and he said where he lives, he grew up in Wisconsin, actually, northern Wisconsin, and he said that he lives now out in the west. I'm not going to say where he lives out west, and in the big city, real big city. And he said you'd be surprised at what they charge for wood. So he said oak for a full cord, wait, gotta go back. Yes, oak for a face cord, or third of a cord, 1/3 of a cord, which we call a face cord, $575 for one face cord. Mesquite is $425. Pecan is $425. Mixed hardwood, just a variety of mixed hardwood, $375 for a face cord. Juniper, $385. Olive, $395 for a face cord. So multiply that times 3. So if you look at that oak, $575 times 3, which would be a full cord, means he's getting over $1,600 for a full cord. That's to me shocking. But in a big city, out in the west, and it's in the southwest, where it's a lot of desert, there's not a lot of trees. It's Arizona. Wow. I might have to move there. So there you go. That's all I got for tonight, folks. Hopefully that was of interest. I just kind of covered a bunch of stuff that people bring up that I thought was interesting, and I thought might be interesting to you. I've got to finish this, and I've got chips to eat. And I'm going to sit out here and relax and sit by the fire for probably another couple hours. Too bad you're not there or here. Sometime you guys got to stop in. That's all I got for today, folks. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. with another video. Good night, Irene.